Hey everybody, this is Mike for the channel Sailing Whisper. I just got this keyboard. This is an RMI Electra Piano 300B, which from a line of instruments made by RMI. These little kind of plunky electronic pianos. Not an electric piano because there's nothing electromechanical going on. It's entirely electrical. Each key, when you press it, triggers oscillators and stuff to make sounds. And it has these tabs here, if I pull the top down. A couple different sounds and ways to change the sound, like organ mode and this accenter here, which I actually never knew what the accenter did before I got this. It kind of adds like a pop, kind of like the percussion of an organ, a Hammond organ, which is pretty cool. It adds a little bit of attack to the front of the note, and when you have all the other tabs disengaged, you can hear the popping. I'll probably demonstrate that when I get to the playing portion, when I'm done with these modifications. But anyway, I just wanted to document some of these modifications because this is a weird esoteric instrument, totally outdated. Nobody really needs one of these, but I am just such a nut about Genesis and Tony Banks keyboards and whatnot that I saw the chance to get it, and I just had to have it because this is the piano instrument that's all over The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway and Trick of the Tail, and then live he continued to use it into the Wind and Wuthering tour. So like the piano parts in like Firth the Fifth and Supper's Ready, the piano and pianette parts were then played on this. So yeah, anyway, this morning I already did a modification that I did not document, but I will tell you about. So this instrument comes with this pedal here. On the left is a volume pedal, and on the right is a sustain pedal, kind of a two-in-one type thing. And the issue with it is that the sustain pedal is missing the spring that keeps it up. So if I have it down, it's sustaining all the time. In order to not do it, I just have to flip it up. And the place where the spring does go, clearly there's a part missing because it's just a hole there. So nothing I can really do about that. So I was like, great, let me just grab one of my, this is just an on-stage generic sustain pedal. Let me just grab one of those and plug it in. But the issue, let me just grab the two cables that come out of this pedal. I'll put the pedal on the ground. So these are the two cables. The one on the left there is for the volume. That is a 1/4-inch jack, just like, any other jack. And on the right, I mean, at a glance it looks like a 1/4-inch jack, but it's actually a little bit smaller. So a 1/4-inch jack does not fit. I don't know why they did that. The only thing I can think of is that, so when you're plugging it in, you don't mix up the two. You don't accidentally plug the volume into the sustain and vice versa, but I mean, if you do that, you'll probably quickly realize, hey, this isn't working, let me just swap it over. But anyway, so earlier this morning I went in and I replaced the jack with just a normal 1/4-inch jack. I've just desoldered and resoldered the new jack, and it's working exactly like it should. I'll show you the old jack. I have it right here. It is just a little bit smaller. Here, let me zoom in on my phone. It is just a little bit smaller. It's kind of weird, kind of uncanny, because I've worked on plenty of guitars and I've seen plenty of 1/4-inch jacks like this. But yeah, it also has this. Was that a capacitor? It shows you how much I know about electronics. There's a capacitor connected on both sides, but when I was trying to desolder things, this is the ground. Oh, come on, focus, please. You can kind of see that, it's one of those, just a lot of ground wires that were, like, wound together, and kind of, just getting that out of there was a nightmare, so I just cut it, and I was like, well, before I go through the hassle of trying to get this capacitor out, let me just solder, see if I even need the capacitor, and I just soldered in the new jack, and it works totally fine without the capacitor. So, I mean, I'll be keeping this just because, you know, it's original to the instrument, kind of, you know, for history's sake, I suppose. But yeah, now I have this on-stage sustain pedal that is working just fine. And now the second modification that I'm doing is probably another annoying thing about this is that both the power cable and the output 1/4-inch jack are both hardwired into the instrument. So you can see right here, this is where you plug in the volume. And you can see the output is kind of wired in such a way. I'm no expert on electronics. I can solder, but I can't explain the technicalities of this. But this is the other end of the cable, and the cable's fine. But it would just be more convenient, you know, in general, to just use this as the output. So I'm just gonna take this whole cable out and just solder it directly to here. Although now that I'm thinking about it, I might not even have to desolder anything. I might be able to just plug a cable in there, output, and it'll just work. Now that I think about it. Anyway, I'll give that a shot, and then I get back to you on that. But this one's a little bit more complicated. This is the power. I may or may not just replace it with an IEC jack. I mean, theoretically, you know, again, I haven't looked too much into this. This instrument is kind of hard to find information about. I found a service manual for the 368, which is the one that Tony Banks used, but I have not been able to find anything on the 300B specifically. So, I mean, in theory, I should just be able to wire up an IEC, but the power cable is also good and long enough, you know, so that won't be too much of an issue. But the volume, if I pick it up off the floor again, this is on its way out, and to even get, you know, I kind of have to wiggle it in order to get sound out of the instrument. So if I need volume, I can just 1/4-inch out into I have an Ernie Ball or a Dunlop volume pedal that I can use. It'll do the exact same job, which you do need that for like Supper's Ready, you know, in the Lover's Leap section. He does some volume swells and the How Dare I Be So Beautiful. I'm pretty sure, yeah, he played that part on the pianette, and then the RMI, not the Hammond, doing all the volume swells. But anyway, yeah, I will come back to you when everything is all closed up and ready to play, and I'll do some playing demonstrations. Alright, so I got this thing put back together. I ended up not changing out the output jack. I did discover that you can just plug a jack into where the volume pedal is supposed to plug in, and that will output the sound. Because that's already the case, just the way that everything was already wired in there and soldered in, it just seemed like it was too much of a hassle to to take the other cable out. So it'll just be there for redundancy. But like I said, I can still plug in the you know, the RMI pedal, and that'll work. Or I can, you know, use any other external volume pedal. That's fine. But I just wanted to give you a closer look at the instrument and a little bit of a playing demo. It won't be anything too crazy because, one, I'm not that great of a player yet. And I'm filming with one hand and going to be playing with the other. But yeah, you can also see that this is in pretty rough cosmetic shape. There's supposed to be like a silver kind of panel there. But it is not there. This is definitely a player grade instrument, which is why I was able to get it pretty cheaply. Not super cheaply, it was like $300, which it was probably still overpaying for an instrument like this, but I saw it and I had to have it because Tony Banks, you know. But anyway, it was funny that the guy selling it, he was like, I found it on Reverb. It was on a store, and on uh, the Reverb listing, it said that the sounds worked, but it sounded distorted. And let me turn off the fuzz here, and let me turn it up a little bit. I can see if you don't know what it's supposed to sound like, then I can see how you'd be like, oh, that sounds pretty kind of fuzzed out, you know, especially with the harpsichord. Yeah. But no, that's just how it's supposed to sound. And that's what the Reverb listing said. And then the guy, when I got there, he was like, yeah, it's not turning on at all, you know? Like, it's not doing anything. No output, no nothing. I was like, what, really? It said it was working. So I plugged it into the wall, and then the light came on. And he was like, oh, I guess I was wrong, but... And I was like, alright, I mean, I'll still take it, because he gave me the number of someone who could fix it. Yeah, I plugged it in, and it works, so... That's pretty good. I will say there is one issue with it, actually. So this organ mode tab here, what that does, now I originally thought that when you have organ mode on and you do that, I thought it was supposed to hold it infinitely like an organ, but as you can hear, it's fading out. So all that really does is it just gives it a much longer decay, rather than sustaining it infinitely. And when I found that out, I actually commented on a video from Matt Thomas Overdrive, who also does a lot of Genesis keyboard videos, and has an RMI 368. So I figured he might know a thing or two, and he did. He's always been very helpful. I pick his brain all the time in the comments, and he's very gracious enough to, you know, have a discussion. But anyway. If you go and listen to In the Cage, let me turn on the phaser. Actually, let me show you. I have it plugged into my interface, and I'm running Amplitude here in main stage. So I have the Fender Blender fuzz, which is what I'm pretty sure he used it, or he had. I've read some places that he had a like a homemade fuzz that was based on the Fender Blender. It seemed like Tony was the kind of guy that tweaked things like that, and, you know, he built his own custom Leslie, so I could believe that he had a custom one, but just the stock Fender Blender here sounds right, so that's cool. And then he had it into a Phase 100, which is modeled here, and then at the very end, I don't have this on currently, I had a compressor in here, just because when turning on and off the Fender Blender, there's a pretty big volume difference. And even with the compressor at the end of the chain, it's still pretty big difference. But in '77, he started running everything through a chorus. He got rid of his Leslie, and on the '76 tour and the Lamb tour, I don't know if he ran his RMI through the Leslie or not, because it honestly doesn't. I mean, I've listened to the archive Lamb concert and the Genesis in concert '76 video, the Carpet Crawlers. It doesn't sound like he's running it through the Leslie, to me anyway. But I could be wrong on that. But anyway, so I have it running through a chorus, and then I have the phaser here. So I was going to turn on the phaser for you and play In the Cage, and so if you go and listen to the record, I'm honestly more familiar with the live versions, like the 3-size live version of In the Cage, where he played it on the Quadra, which does have an infinite sustain. So when he's doing that, he doesn't let up on these notes. Right, he changed from the D to the D flat there, and he doesn't let up on these. Whereas on the studio version, he does, to reset the decay. wasn't exactly like it, but you get the idea. But yeah, so anyway, oh yeah, so I was going to say the issue with the organ mode is that it is always on. So when I turn it off, now it should have a short decay, but it still has a really long decay. So, and the issue with that is that when I go to do carpet crawlers, and I hold down the sustain pedal, see, it's even without the phaser, it is just a mess. It doesn't work. So I've tested the switch itself, and I know the switch itself is working. Just tested it with a multimeter set to continuity, and it does work. So it's something else inside here that doesn't work, and I don't know what it is. So I am hopefully going to have someone take a look at it. But or maybe I'll poke around inside some other time and update you guys if and when I do that. But yeah, that's about the gamut of the RMI. Oh yeah, I was going to show you the accenter thing. You turn this off. Might be a little too quiet, but there's a little pop. And so for this B here and everything up, it's the same pop. The same pitch and everything. I think it's that B. Actually sounds a little sharp from a B, but right around this B flat is when it starts to just do a lower pop. Oh, yeah, also there's one dead key, and some keys that are like half volume. But they're really low down here, and I really never play those keys, so it hasn't been an issue yet. But again, so when I take this to someone to look at the organ mode, I'm also going to have them take a look at that, and maybe they can add that output jack for me too. But yeah, that's about the gamut of what I wanted to show with this. Here, just for fun, while we're here, let me put on the Fender Blender, and then we'll do some Dance on a Volcano. You get the idea. And you can hear how much louder that is. Really loud and bassy, which is cool with the Fender Blender, how bassy it is. But yeah, anyway, that's the gamut of what I wanted to cover here. I figure if I'm gonna have this esoteric, just goofy keyboard that really is outdated and nobody needs. I mean, there was another shop that I called, and the guy was very polite, but he politely kind of laughed me out of the store. I mean, I called him, but you know what I mean. He was laughing like, man, he said those things were crusty when they came out, and I was like, I know, but I have to have it because it's the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway keyboard, Trick of the Tail keyboard. But anyway, I found another guy that was willing to take a stab at it, and yeah, once that gets done, I will update you. But yeah, I wanted to start making some videos here because I also have a Hammond L100 that I'm going to be getting that totally works. The only thing I want to do, I want to install like a Trek 2 direct output for it. So I'll make a video on that when I get that up here. But my music space is in a finished attic, so I need to figure out how the hell I'm gonna get a Hammond L100 up 2 flights of stairs. I mean, at least it's not a B3. It's a little bit lighter and a little bit smaller, but still like 200 something pounds. But anyway, so yeah, thanks for checking it out, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video of old Tony Banks keyboard goodness.